Good morning everybody, and welcome to Magic in Mind. Can you believe it is December 2023? It is our new moon tomorrow. So this is I always love it when Magic in Mind and the new moons work so beautifully, so that we can really feel into the energy of the new moon today. So if you are joining me here live, give me a little wave, say hello, and let me know what intentions you are setting for yourself, and in particular, what intentions you are setting for yourself around rest and replenishment at this time of year. Now, for those of you who are in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going to be looking at the winter, and we're going to be working specifically with the goddess Rind or Rind, and we're looking at the etymology of her name. And how she can support us with rest and replenishment. If you are in the Southern Hemisphere and you're actually in the summer months, there is an important piece there as well around that balance of the busyness, the sort of harvest time and the gathering, but also of recognising that within the Northern tradition, at least, when we have the Yarrow rune, which means year, the summer and the winter, or Sumar and Vetra as they were known, circle each other. It's this continual dance. So while we are here in the Northern Hemisphere in the winter months, the seed of the new year is waiting, and Yule is going to be supporting that and working with that. So let me know if you're here live, or if you're here on the recording, you can just do #replay. What are your intentions for rest and replenishment this month? One of the pieces that I wanted to bring in for you, actually, which I think is important, is that recognition that because of the way our social wheel of the year is structured, or our cultural wheel of the year is structured, what we can do, and I've worked with a couple of clients last week where we were looking at and really feeling into this, we have this build up, it's all tinsel and sparkles and busyness and presents and eating lots and going out and doing all of the things, and all of that happens, which there is an energy of celebration that comes through. If you think about processing, integrating, celebrating the year that has passed as part of the letting go process for it, absolutely, that is there. What we tend to do is we do all that in December, and then we're miserable through January and February. And that's the bit that I'm not quite so sure of. So when we think about rest and replenishment, part of that for me is about recognising that winter really starts around the time of Yule, and it is a 3-month period, or the way that the ancestors would have seen it is they had 2 seasons. They had summer and winter circling each other, and this dance between the two of them. So the winter is a long period of time. So when we're thinking about our intentions, yes, there is the lunar cycle that we're in right now, but there is also the feeling into that wintering process. How can I bring some of that celebrationary energy, some of that golden glowing hygge energy into January and February, and a little bit into March as well, and so that they're woven in, so that the process of wintering is woven in. And Maggie says, I like to think of the celebration as like a feast before the war, on the final party before retreat. Yes, you can certainly see it that way, and I'm not saying, because we do, we have Yule, or if you're celebrating Christmas, we do celebrate Christmas in my family because it is a family tradition. I come from a Christian heritage, so does my husband, so we see it as a sort of an ancestral celebration in many ways. But it's getting that balance right. So let me know, your intentions. But I love that, Maggie. So you're going to be doing your celebration before the retreat. So for you, that might be a recognition that perhaps you are able to experience those energies of rest and replenishment more fully than others, certainly that I've been speaking to, clients that I've been speaking to, who say it feels as if we do all the celebration, I just about get through the Christmas holidays, maybe I've got 3 days before I go back to work. If I take any longer, everyone else is already back in the thick of it, and I'm not there, because it's like, right, New Year, everyone, go, 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 which is just not energetically what the season is calling of us, so really feeling into that. I'm going to share with you some words now that the goddess Rind shared with me, that she wanted to offer to you. So this is a moment now for you to perhaps just gather yourself a little bit in. Just notice if there are any parts of you that are sort of out, tethered to this bit in the world, or that to-do list, or that family celebration or travel arrangements or food, or whatever it is. Just invite those bits back into yourself. Just bring them in. Maybe put your hands over your heart and just say, oh, welcome home, me. Just taking a moment just to notice your breath. Just allowing any tension that's in the shoulders to come just down and sink down from the head space, the space of the head, down inside your body more fully, to listen to this very short piece that Rindr wanted to offer us. She says, Earth-Rind, winter cloak, treasure chest, frost shell, ice shield. I am winter, from which the new year is born. Now, we don't know very much about Rindr. I always pronounce her name Rindr, but her name does mean like the rind of the earth. So we might think about it as being, if you imagine like a juicy orange with the protective rind around it, brings in a whole concept of winter as being this space, like almost like the womb of winter, from which the year is born. And we don't know a huge amount about her. We know that she was a giantess. And the story that we have of her, through which we know of her, is an uncomfortable story. It's a story that's perhaps not that, I'm sure that there were more. I'm absolutely convinced that there were more. But for whatever reason, this is the story that was passed down, or that the monks, or Sturluson, chose to record about her. She is the goddess of the hard earth, of the hard winter, as they say. And when Balder, the god of the light, was slain, Odin's most beloved son, Odin knew that he was required to exact vengeance, but he couldn't exact vengeance because technically the slayer of Balder was Hod, Balder's blind brother. So Odin had to do various machinations to allow himself to complete what was required of him to honour the memory of his son who had been killed. And so what he did is he journeyed down, and in some see this as being like he seduced the cold earth, which is the nice version, and in other versions he said to rape the cold earth. And apologies for triggering anything there for you. And Rindr then gives birth to Vali, who is her son and Odin's son. And Vali, within the space of one day, takes revenge on Hod and slays Hod, and he goes down into the depths and into the darkness. And I don't know about you, but certainly for me, when I heard that story, it made it quite difficult for me to feel beyond that story. And then Rindr came and she said, I am so much more than that story. And I thought, that's true. Why would I allow a story where she is victim? Or perhaps, at least she's, even if she's not victim, she's what's like an object in the story. She doesn't have a voice in the story. Why do I not allow her that room to speak? And that was my first story into her. So I want to provide her with that room to speak. And the first thing she did was she offered me a retelling of the tale. She said, yes, absolutely, there is a meaning that you can create around my story that allows you to go into areas where, one person is used by another, violated by another, for whatever end that is. And I will hold that space for you because I am the deep winter, and I will do that, and I am strong enough to do that. And I think that's important. But what she wanted to offer to us at this point in terms of thinking about rest and replenishment, she was saying, don't forget that Odin is also a primal force. He is the creator God in many ways. He envisaged the 9 worlds. He brought them into being. He held the vision of Earth and us standing on it right now. That is his job. And I am the goddess of the harsh winter, the cold winter. Balder, the god of the light, is also the god of the dying summer at this point. The god of the dying light, the shortening days. And Hod, the blind god, his brother, is a god of darkness. The darkness that precedes the winter time. If you think about the way in which winter then comes after the winter solstice, that period of wintering follows it. He is the bringer of the winter. And therefore, Odin's role as a creator god is to keep the wheel turning, to keep it moving. And as the light is slain, he says, well, then I must arrange for the slaying of the darkness so that the light can be reborn again. And so in going to Rind, he goes into the winter and he woos the winter in whatever way we see that happening. You could see it as a battle between the two of them, the urge to create and move and the urge to remain still and silent and quiet. Or you can see it as a wooing, as a coming together of these two primal forces, from which, and Odin woos, which she talks about the idea of being like a winter cloak that's held over, and so she allows Odin to gently remove that cloak. She talks about being the treasure chest. So what is the treasure that she's holding? She talks about the frost shell, and I saw her very much thinking about almost like an oyster that is then prized open to reveal the pearl within. But the pearl needs time to grow. So Odin can't come along and just be like, right, hi, Rind, let's get going. No, that's not going to be the way. She's going to take her time. She's going to be wooed slowly, because what is inside needs time to develop and grow and gestate. So she was talking about all of these things, and she said, I love that in the zodiac. So in the zodiac, you will know that Freya Aswin created the halls of the gods. So she took the zodiac, which so many of us have worked with over the years, and she said, okay, if you want something that's more authentic, more in keeping with what you are seeking within the northern tradition, here are the halls that you can work with. And we have Ul's Hall, which we're in right now, the god of the hunt, the winter. The winter hunt is god of winter and sort of skiing, and he's out there and he's pursuing Odin, And then Odin retreats and Ul takes the throne for a period of time, and Odin goes off and he's doing his thing. Who knows, maybe he's wooing Rind during this period of time, but Ul has the throne. And then you have a period of time that's going to happen this month where we move into Vidar's hall. Vidar is a god of silence. There is a silence, there is a stillness, there is a peace, there is a rest that comes through. And then Vali's hall opens about the 20th of January, so not straight away, it's about a month before his hall opens. And when I felt into this, I felt the sense that if you think about Rind as being this frost shield, this shell that is holding the energy of the old year, allowing us to reflect on it, integrate from it, process it, reweave it, compost what needs to be composted, gather in our strength from it. She holds that space for us to do that, and that is the space of rest. Letting go. There is a grief process as well, isn't there? There's a grief process for saying maybe either it was a brilliant year and well, let's see if it is good, or no, it was a terrible year and there are regrets or sorrows or things, and it's that process of doing that. It's just we have to do that first, and then we move into replenishment. And replenishment to me always sort of means that filling back up again, a little bit like the lunar cycle, that we let go and then we fill again. The chariot of the moon holds that energy. Rind holds the energy within it as she does this. And she said to me, Vali is that igniting energy. He isn't the spring. He isn't the new year. He's like the catalyst. He's like the energy that we need in order to shape our new years, in order to invite the light back in. He's the spark. He's like that vital spark that's born, and he goes and he lays the winter to rest. It doesn't mean that the winter's not coming back, but that's his job, to lay the winter to rest. So how can you partner with Rind through the course of these coming weeks and months? How can you actively lay the winter to rest? How can you open to it? How can you woo it? And when you think about rest and replenishment, I'd like you to perhaps think into these questions, or feel into these questions, which is, if you possess the power of Rind, the power to be the shield, to be the protective shield, or to be the shell that holds the old and allows it to fully pass and to be released out, and then to come back into the centre. To come back into the centre? Under the new year, to be born. How would you weave Rindr's magic into the world? What would you do with that on a global level? I was feeling into that and saying, wouldn't it be such an amazing thing for this energy of rest and release and letting go and stillness and peace to be what is being experienced in the Middle East right now? Wouldn't that be a beautiful and amazing thing? It is not there, but that is what I would wish for. And there'll be other things. There'll be things in the world that you feel like, yes, what if we could say, now is a time for letting go and for being in peace and rest, and for allowing the spark of the new to slowly be born, not from the stories of the old, but from something new, from the hopes and the dreams that perhaps Varley represents as he lays the winter to rest. Then there are, what would you do in your own community? If that's part of the global community, but it is not directly impacting on you, what would you offer to your community? Where are there spaces of conflict or challenge or difficulty or illness and poverty, all of those things? What would you do if you were able to hold those with the grace and the power and the stillness and the all-encompassingness of Rind? How about in your family? What peace and rest and replenishment and nourishment would you offer to your family? And of course, what would you do for yourself? What would you place in that treasure chest of the new year? What would you allow that time of peace and replenishment? What would you hold your ice shield up to and for in those moments? So that's what Rind wanted to offer to us today, is to feel into the relationship with winter and with wintering, and to take what we need from that. She is the protective shell in which the old year comes to know itself, perhaps, and understand itself and make peace with itself, so that then that vital spark of the new year can be born. Okay. So I can see that some of you are sharing your runes. We are going to do our stay in place session. That will be coming. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the planetary movements coming up for this rest and replenish month ahead. Because we're going to be doing 2 sessions. I'm not going to be here on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. I know. So we're going to have 2 sessions. So what I'm going to do is today I'm going to take you through a selection of some of the key planetary movements coming through the course of this new lunar cycle. If you would like to feel into them in more depth, then make sure that you are subscribed to Sooner Star Wheel, because I do a full oracle for all of the planetary movements, which will be coming out tomorrow in time for the new moon. If you are not a member of Sooner Star Wheel, you get your planetary oracle every month. You get your new moon meditations, so we'll be having our new moon in Isa meditation will come out. Really feeling into what we've talked about, the new moon in Isa, the rune of ice. Carol, you've said that you've been given Isa to work with. Interesting, during those hot summer days. And so for you, there is a real balancing there, isn't there, of recognizing like that Yera energy of saying that the seed of the winter is born within the womb of the summer. What does that feel like? And as you said, we're too full of activity, but also we give space to enjoy, be and have time out. So yes, it is that part that you're being invited into. So we'll be doing our new moon in Isa meditation, and that will be there. It's a reflective writing process, so it takes you into a meditative state, sort of gentle trance state, and then it invites you to allow your voice to rise up in response to that energy, so that it's like a unique self-knowing oracular process for you from the energy of that new moon. As I've said, you have your planetary movements oracle as well comes out, and then you have your waxing moon meditation. We then have a full moon in Dargaz meditation. So it's really powerful. Love that we have a new moon in Easter with the ice, and then Dargaz, the rune of the day, the rune of the gateway that's coming through at the full moon. And then we have our waning moon meditation as well. So all of that comes through soon as Star Wheel. So if you want to know more about the planetary movements, you absolutely can. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview, and then we're going to do our stay and play. So the things that I wanted to highlight for you coming up for this month. So I've said the new moon in Isa and the full moon in Dargaz. And these are really powerful, potent energies for us in feeling the balance between the stillness of the ice and the knowing of the ice, and the movement and the action and the commitment of the fire. You know, the ice invites in and then reflects back what it receives. You know, whatever is there and present, it will reflect that back. So it receives into itself first and then it reflects back out. Dargaz is the rune of the day, so it is a stepping into what you are. You know, into transformation that comes from within and then expresses itself out into the world. So beautiful gateway new moon for us to be working with Dargaz. We've also got, through this period of time, a fair amount of retrograde energy. So we've got 3 planets in retrograde. So Odin's chariot is moving into retrograde, and we can feel that, and it's very in keeping with the legends of him leaving the throne, you know, to go and do other things during this winter period. So he's also in retrograde. So that energy of, I don't want to think about it as retrograde, I think of it as retreat. It is this time of retreat. So he is inviting us into retreat. So it's worth bearing in mind that it can mean that we have less access to the full articulation of what it is that we want, what we're trying to achieve, you know, all of those things, because Odin isn't there supporting that. So some things can be more tricky and clunky and difficult, and he says, so yeah, that's the price that you pay for having someone as brilliant as me, you know, in charge. Now I love that he's he's a sort of role model of a deity, a patriarchal deity. You know, he's a not always, but he's got a masculine centered deity. He does have his balance of feminine energy, and he does have his balance of, and now I need to leave the throne in order to find out who I am again, in order to bring my renewed energy back to the throne. You know, I'm not there all the time in charge, controlling all of the time. And I quite like that about Odin. So there is that retreat period happening. We also have Thor's chariot is on retreat at the moment, and that tends to mean that it's a period of receiving and celebrating rather than doing and being out there and working. So again, very much in keeping with this period of time. And then we have Urd's chariot also in retrograde. And this period of time, which started in August and is going to be finishing at the end of January, has been a time of real inner transformation, sometimes uncomfortable. You know, Rindr would say this is the winter shell of Urd itself, or the collective destiny, saying, you know, we need to draw out the next level, your next leveling of what it means to be a soulful, like star-led, fabulous hero in the world today. And sometimes we have to shed some of those layers. And I know a lot of people have been saying, I'm a bit tired of shedding layers now. This sort of inner transformation work, it's great, but I'm a bit tired now. You know, so that will start to shift towards the end of January. But it's being kind with ourselves, recognising that this retreat energy, if the more that we're able to retreat, that the easier we will find that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that we have a lot of planets in Isa. So Suna's chariot in Isa, we've got a new moon in Isa, we've got Tia's chariot in Isa as well. So that the planet like Tia is obviously often action and activity, and he is inviting us into stillness. And then slowly over the course of this month, they will start to transition into Yera. So that's that balancing from Isa into Yera, that moment where the balance of the light comes into the darkness, or in the case of you, Carol, the sort of other way round, that dominance of light energy contains within it the seed of the darkness too. So that's moving forward. So it's how much can you embrace that. Now, I've already mentioned, so I'll just just paraphrase the movement from Ulshol, so Idalia, where we are now, this god of the winter, will move into Vidar's hall on the time of the winter solstice. Vidar is god of quietness and silence and endings as well, and completions. You know, he's very associated with Ragnarok. And then we will move into Vali's hall, like in the next lunar cycle. But I wanted to mention it because they do sort of come in this arc, you know, this arc of the fierce winter claiming the world with Ul, and then the silence and the peace with Vidar, and then the rebirthing, which again it's a fierce rebirthing as we lay the winter to rest with Vali. So those things come through. So some really lovely energies to play with. So if that sounds lovely and you're thinking, oh, I'd like to know a little bit more about that, then Sina Star Wheel is what you will want. There is time to join because our new meditation will be coming out tomorrow for the new moon in Isa. The final thing I wanted to say before we move into Stay and Play is that you will have seen in the Hearth space, I want to check that we've got emails coming out as well, that tomorrow I am launching a nurturing cycle of, you know, when there's 2 magic and minds that we're not having, and I am working on this basis of what can we celebrate, what can we feel into, how can we support, you know, how can I support you in being in this space of wintering and celebration and reflection and processing and dreaming and imagining. So there will be every morning I'll be bringing to you a Yuletide treasure of something that has been created like through this past cycle. Normally there's a few things there that have been created before, but normally the things that have been created through the past cycle I'm going to be bringing to you again, so that you have a sort of nurturing, nourishing space every day where you can come in and say, oh, I have a little feel into that, I'll feel into my magic in this way, or I'll explore Huga, doing a little bit of exploration of Huga and the Northern Elements piece that we did and things like that. So look forward to that. Soaring to you through the airwaves, and then in the afternoon, the second half of Yuletide Treasures will be an opportunity for you to feel into what would I like that's going to nourish me, nourish my soul, support me on my journey, on my spirit-led journey through the coming year. And so I'm going to be sharing with you an offer from me for how you can work with me. So you'll be getting that those 2 things every day through the course of the coming lunar cycle, which I'm very excited about. Yuletide Treasures, that's what you're going to want to look out for. You can see those in the Hearth space. We'll be putting them on the Instagram channel. We'll be sending them to you by email as well. So make sure that you are paying attention to at least one of them so that you don't miss out on any of those juicy things. So let's look at Stay and Play then. So what I'm going to do today is we've got a new moon intention setting, and we're not doing Magic in Mind in the same way next week. So next week I'm going to be doing a deep dive into your birth runes with you. So if you know what your sun rune is, you're going to want to bring that rune next time. So we won't be doing Magic in Mind in quite the same way next time. So today is our Stay and Play session for this lunar cycle. So let me have a look at all of your lovely comments and where you've shared your runes. And if you haven't shared your rune, now is your opportunity to do so. So let me see, I'll start from the top. We've got Trish, we've got Maggie, we've got Carol, we've got Erica. Hi, lovely to see you, Erica. So Erica, you have shared Earth-Rind. Erica with Earth-Rind. It's Carol. I practice Huga with lighting a candle in the darkness in the evening to bring in this energy. That is so lovely. I love that so much. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's almost we appreciate the light more in that space of the darkness. That's one of the things I really love about Huga, is it is that recognition of the balance of the light and the dark in it, isn't it, Carol? And you were working with Isa, so we've talked a little bit about Isa, so we'll see whether any more comes through with Isa for you. Then Maggie, you've got Ewaz, lovely rune of partnership there. So excellent, and we'll see if anyone else shares their rune through Stay and Play, and otherwise I'll draw a couple more runes. Yeah, to see what we get. Oh, I've just written your Ewaz as a manas there, Maggie. It's very uncomfortable. It's not going to help me at all, is it? Isa. My writing's atrocious. Atrocious. Poor runes. Okay, so let's have a little feel. Who wants to speak first? Actually, Carol, I feel like your Issa rune wants to just have a little check-in. It's such an important rune for this time of year. And I think what the Issa rune wants to talk about... Hold on, I've got my... If I can find it, I will. What the Issa rune wants to bring in, and I don't think this is necessarily just for you, Carol, I think this is for others watching it at this time, is that when we think about the ice and we think about Rindr, we think about the stories that are, the story world and the natural world and the cycles that are around us. It can feel quite external to us. It can feel like we're sort of riding the tides of time and space. That's how I like to look at it, which is a good thing. We like to ride the tides of time and space, don't we? But Issa also represents the inner world. I mean, all of the runes do. They all have messages for our inner world, as well as how we can interact in a more powerful, more partnering way with the external world as well. And Issa, it can be best represented when you think about the inner world as being I. It's literally, it is, the modern capital I is the Issa rune in a more modern guise, with a top and a bottom there, almost like it's a more finite version. The Issa rune here is a vertical line that can travel up, reaching up to the stars and down to the earth. Strong as it likes. The modern capital I has got the sort of, this is me, this is where I stop, which contains a little bit, doesn't it? So the Issa rune at this point invites you into a more expansive version of yourself, a recognition of how big you are, of how much there is in you, and how connected you are as well. So we could be saying, okay, the inner journey that I'm going to do will be to release perhaps experiences that I've had through this year, or ill health that I've experienced through this year, or challenges or difficulties that I've had through this year, and you find where they are in your body. And there are many release processes that we can do to work with them. And if you are struggling with them, don't forget you can get in touch with me, and I do offer one-to-one sessions, and there are some coming up through Yuletide Treasures. So you can do that if you're feeling like, there's something that I really need to shift, that it's held within the ice, and it can be difficult to shift. We need to bring in that gentle light, to light our candles, Carol, in order to allow the ice to gently thaw, not to sort of crack it, but to allow it to gently thaw. So we have that sense of the self, but then we have these further layers. There is I that's here, like my physical body here, and there's I that's inside experiencing emotions, and there's I that's experiencing thoughts that are coming. I think people are more comfortable with the idea of things like saying, oh, that's not mine. It is interesting, isn't it? It's like, how do I know whether a thought or an emotion is mine or not? And the Issa rune supports us in doing that. And then we have our energy body. Where does your energy body start and finish? Then we have the shared stories, or the shared versions of you that other people, to a greater or lesser extent, depending on how connected you are with them, how rooted you are in your own power and your own sense of self, who has more control over that. Now, all of this comes within the mystery of Issa. So there is a wintering of the outside world, but there is also a wintering of the inside world. And there is a real... when I said there is a wintering of the inside world, you went, oh, that doesn't sound pleasant, then that might be where you want to start with the Issa rune, because, as Rindr said, it's essential. It's essential for the evolution of the soul to let go and release in order to renew and evolve. So that's what the Issa rune wanted to offer us today. Hi, Mel. Mel from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm not sure if you've been at Magic in Mind before. Lovely to see you. May have to bow out before you get the answer. That's absolutely fine. I will do Thurisaz for you, and then you can come back and you can pick that up if you're not here by the time we get to it. Actually, you know what? Maybe that's why I read your one there. I've seen you as well, Lisa, doing some mindful crochet squares. Oh, how beautiful. And you've got your Fey rune. But I can feel the Thurisaz rune actually coming in there alongside the Issa rune. So let's have a little feel into that here. Okay, so here's our Thurisaz rune. And again, this to me is talking about the personal rather than the collective or the ancestral or the landscapal. I don't know what the term is for that. But it's talking about the personal, it's talking about the inner landscape, and the way in which the thorn energy and the Aether energy can partner together, sometimes in a way that is challenging and difficult, and sometimes in ways that are helpful. So I want you to think about the Thurisaz rune as being the rune of power, the power too. And power is something that we want. We're told in society, aren't we, that we want it, and it is also something that is incredibly frightening. As most people have, I had the power. If I wanted to, I could go out there and I could perform a hideous act right now. Perform a totally hideous act or a stupid act. Didn't have to be hideous or a cruel act. That is in my power to do any of those things. And this is one of the things that I feel the Northern tradition invites us to embrace more fully than we currently do in the world. Because it says to us, if you are not able to recognise that you have the potential to do terrible things, stupid things, weak things, what's the opposite of courageous? Whatever it is. Why can't I think of the word? Then you can't fully embrace the other side. It's a bit like if you don't embrace the winter, you can't embrace the summer fully. If you don't embrace the dark, you can't feel the full power of the light within that. So to claim our power is to recognise our capabilities to do amazing, wonderful, glorious, magnificent things and hideous, terrible, awful things. And then to say, okay, I accept that power. I accept that power. And then I move forward. And that is a big place to stand. That's what Odin to me represents, is a being who has fully accepted the power of his being and is going to express that into the world no matter what. And all of that work that he does to go on retreat or to go and find wisdom, to go down to the Well of Weird, to go and speak to the goddess Saga every day, to go and consult with Mimir, to partner with Freya, to have Frigg as his queen, all of those things are done because he recognises that the more powerful he is, the more wisdom he needs access to. Now the Thurisaz rune represents power inside us, whether we have embraced it or not. Now, it's still there. And you can think about it as Rindr almost saying, okay, if you are not going to embrace it, I will embrace it for you. So the ice can operate to hold stuff that we find very difficult and challenging to deal with in our bodies. And what I'm going to say here, let me see if I can get it out properly in the way that I want to. Okay. We can hold experiences that we've had even in past lives, or even that we have experienced because they've been passed down to us collectively through our ancestors, experiences of what human beings are capable of. We can hold them inside ourselves, and because they feel so awful and so hideous, we push down everything that they represent. And so we're not able to feel our power fully because of that. And the Aether rune can do that in a way that is disempowering, because maybe we're ready for that power to come back, but the ice is holding on tight and we're not going through that process of wintering and doing that. It can also do that because we aren't ready for it, and that's an important part there, is to say, okay, what am I ready for this year? What am I ready to step into this year? Maybe there's lots of stuff in your life that you would like to change, but in order to destabilize so much all at once can be difficult. So I know that I've had healing work where somebody said to me, oh, there's this over here, you need to go and tackle that. I've gone, no. What I need to do is just see it. I'm not ready to deal with it yet. I want to stay in the heart of the ice for now, and then I will see that later. So through the course of the wintering process, sometimes it can be enough to say, okay, I recognise a pattern maybe that I have inherited from my grandmothers and their grandmothers and their grandmothers, and it's enough for me to know it's there this year, and perhaps to be in the state of I want to open to the wisdom of what's on offer, a little bit like Odin, of sort of saying, I'm not going to march out there and just go and, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I want to gather in wisdom around it, and I'm going to trust the ice to hold that for me until I'm ready. So I think this is what Thurisaz represents, is the reclaiming of power, and the reclaiming of power from the ice, and saying, what am I ready for? What would I like to open to in terms of my power, recovering power through the coming year? And that's what that Thurisaz ring is representing this time. So we've done Isa. Let's feel into, we're starting to get into the movement runes now. I can feel that a little bit more. We've got 3 movement runes. We're going to do those. So we've got Perthray with Erica, Ewaz with Maggie, and Feyu with Lisa. Let's feel into Feyu then, shall we, Lisa? The Feyu rune is right at the beginning of the rune road. It's almost like when a new cycle comes. You know? There's a simplicity about the Feyu rune in some ways. Because it's the first rune, there is a what is it? There is a sense in which we never fully start the story all over again. Do you know? We don't. That doesn't ever. We never get to a point where like, right, I'm a blank slate right now. I'm a clean slate right now. There's nothing there apart from this experience. Of the present moment. It can be quite difficult to be in that space. Here we are. Here we've got the Feyu rune here. Now the Feyu rune is the rune of life force, of this golden energy. It's flowing, and it starts with Orthumla, the primal cow, and she's offering her milk. She's suckling all of the beings out there in the world. And while she's doing that, the elements are forming. The ice and the fire, they're flowing from either side of the Gununga gap, and they're coming down into the centre, and yeast is forming, and salt is forming, and water is forming, and iron, and all of the different elements are forming. And as that happens, they become channels for the life force. So the life force starts to flow through them. It starts to become structured, and we get the Uruz rune, through which life force moves. And that's inevitable. That's the inevitability of the Feyu rune, is that's what happens to our energy, you know, to our ability to be in abundance, to our ability to be healthy and whole and strong, you know, all of the above. We need that. We need matter. We need form. Feyu is force in its original sense. It is force. But I think that what Orthumla is offering to you, Lisa, and perhaps you know, more broadly to anybody else who has pulled the Feyu rune through this lunar cycle, is that sense in which the more you're able to be in a state of like those meditations where you're trying to release everything and like let go, which is really, really difficult to do, isn't it? Like, how many of you are like, yeah, absolutely, I can just go like that. I'm in the Zen moment and there's nothing. Totally Zen right now. Fully in the present. It's a really challenging thing to do. You know, for people who do that every day, I take my hat off to you. You know, it's an amazing thing to do and to achieve. When we can do that, we allow for a period of time the Feyu energy to flow and channel through us, allowing the life force energy to go where it needs to. So let's say you've done your piece, or you've said, okay, I can feel the winter, I'm feeling into that ice in those depths, and I've opened up and I've thought, okay, what does Thurisaz offer me in terms of power that could be reclaimed, of new possibilities, of healing old stories that have been passed down to me, etc., etc., etc. And then if you were to then say, okay, I want to work with that purely at an energetic level. I'm not going to do any story work on it. I'm not going to do any analysis around this. I was talking with Kay Gillard about this last night, about you know, when we can work with story and when we sometimes work with the raw energy of story, which is essentially what the runes are, aren't they? You know, they are the raw energy through which story is made. So when we can let go of the story around, let's think about Feyu, it's the rune of wealth, isn't it? So let's look at that, our story of wealth. When we're able to let go of that, and let's recognise that is not easy. Our society has created more stories around wealth, more ways in which to contain it and channel it and control it and, you know, make it go over here and not over there than at any other time in humanity. You know, we are channeling wealth through an intricacy of cobwebby structures all of the time. And so what we do with our Feyu rune is we chant the Feyu rune, and I would really suggest for you that you actually do the chanting with the Feyu rune and really connect in with the energy. I know, Lisa, you're on awakening, so you've got all of the tools to be able to do that. So do that and really feel that Feyu life force energy flowing through. And don't go, must make the Feyu energy flow through this, must push on the stroke. It doesn't work that way. You need to be in that state of, I'm just focused on the Feyre energy and where it is going, and allowing it to channel where I go. So you want to almost work on the basis that those channels for it don't exist in that period where you're doing that work with the Feyre energy. And then the Feyre energy will be able to flow where it's needed, connecting with the future of who you are when those old stories have been released. You know, that's what you're doing. You're connecting in with the time when the life force of the universe flowed without constraint, and you're allowing that energy to be inside you with your Feyre rune. Perthro is calling. So you've got Erica's Perthro rune coming. Where's my Perthro rune? It's not there. So Perthro wanted to come through. I think it is that Perthro loves. It's a rune of play. It's a rune of possibility. It's a rune of magic. And I wanted to say nurturing, but maybe not so much. It's not nurturing indiscriminately as Ord-Humla does. It is our Perthro rune. It is nurturing the flow of fate itself. So in many ways, what Perthro does is much later in the rune row. So it has come at a point where those channels for the story world have been created. The laws that govern our natural worlds have been created. The 9 worlds have been set inside the world tree. We know what Vanaheim is and what Elfheim is, and that they are separate and distinct from each other, and how they are connected. Stories have been woven about them. Borders have been created. All of those things have happened. And Perthro guards the ongoing evolution of that world, of that space. It says, okay, it's going to need like injections of new possibility. It's going to need the flow of these strong destiny lines. You know, the birthing of heroes, the tackling of problems, the acceptance of the laws of, I'm going to say karma. That's not quite the same as in the northern tradition, but Perthro to me comes the closest to understanding that a container has been put in motion through which the time manifests itself, and the Perthro rune tends to that cycle. So there is a fun and a play and a what else could be happening? There's an opportunism that comes with the Perthro rune. So the Perthro rune encourages you, if you've got the Perthro rune, to look for things that fate is offering you that you might not have asked for, you know, because of for whatever reason. Maybe you were like, oh, I don't deserve it, or I just haven't thought about it, or I didn't think that was me. You know, there's all of those things. The Perthro rune goes, but it could be. I mean, it could be. So it invites you into feeling the opportunities that fate is sending out into the universe for you. You know, that's what the Perthro rune wants. And then finally we've got our Ewaz rune. So Maggie's Ewaz rune here is the rune of partnership. And I'm thinking here about, interestingly, I'm thinking about, it represents the horse and the rider, and I'm reminded of Odin riding on Sleipnir's back. But the image that comes to mind, and you'll have to forgive me because I'm working on Winter Nights at the moment, is very much Hermod riding on Sleipnir. And it's that sense in which there are partnerships that are long lasting, and I think that a lot of people who come into my space want partnership that feels authentic and genuine and long lasting, because many of us are seekers, aren't we? We're seekers. We've looked for spirit guidance in so many different forms, in different cultures. We've looked for magical systems of working. We've looked at all these things, and we go, I would like to feel into and connect really strongly with something that feels like it's mine and it's going to stay with me. It's not been appropriated. It's not been lent to me for a period of time. It's not been offered by somebody else and I've benefited from it, and isn't that wonderful and that's great. It's mine, I feel it, and I know it's mine and it's going to stay with me. And a lot of people come with that desire, you know, and they're looking for a sustainable, long-lasting relationship with the spirit world, with spirit guidance, with magical forms like the runes to work with, and to know that they'll always be there. What the Ewaz rune at this point is reminding us of is that there are times when we enter into partnership which are for a very specific purpose, and that it's okay to let go of them. Hermod rides Sleipnir for a very specific period of time. Sleipnir is not his horse. You know, he is Odin's horse, but he rides Sleipnir, and he forms, you know, that strong bond. You know, if you imagine if you're going to choose a companion to go down into the realms of the dead themselves, you know, you're going to want to be quite tight. You know, you want to have a bond of trust going through. And I think that what this final rune for us is offering is that sense of wintering, allowing the possibility of release of relationships or parts of your life, like long life journeys that you have been on, that have been profoundly important to you, precious, loved, cherished. You know, the Eowaz rune says sometimes that letting go, the sort of decoupling of these two parts so that they can go off and they can do their own thing and they can be free, is required. And it might be that some future point, maybe in this lifetime or maybe a future lifetime, those two parts will come back together, but they won't be the same. They'll have, you know, new exciting things to offer to each other. They'll both have taken journeys and they'll come back together. And I think the Eowaz rune is offering that. It's saying partnerships begin, partnerships end. Yes, there are partnerships which are there, they're enduring, but there are also partnerships which are required in the moment and are valuable and precious to us, but can still be released. So Eowaz says, you know, if you feel like, I'm imagining now, not that I'm planning to do it, just to be really, really clear, but I was imagining, you know, there are so many people I know who like have Instagram channels, and they'll say, I've got this Instagram channel, I've got that Instagram channel, I've got this and I've got that, or, you know, something like that, like something that they've built and they've connected with people and it offers engagement and things like that, and then they're like, well, I can feel the next unfolding of my work coming, and I don't have capacity to create another Instagram channel, and I can't do it. What am I going to do? And Eowaz is saying, well, you've got to let go of one of them then, you know, in order to partner effectively with the next piece. And that, you know, I'm saying Instagram channels, it could be any project or, you know, undertaking. And it's sort of saying, okay, you can, releasing gracefully can be more powerful than holding on for dear life until it becomes too much and the fabric rips, or, you know, the other people recognise that you've already in your mind disengaged a little bit, or you're resenting, you know, and they like, pull away a little bit. Sometimes that pulling away process is exactly what's needed for a later reconnection on a more powerful level. So, like I say, I feel like that. It's been older parts of my life that kind of peep through, but it feels like I need to let go. Yes. So I would say that for you, again, the runes have offered us a journey, haven't they? If you think about the Issa rune and the Thurisaz rune, there's moments of power and stepping into your power and, you know, possibility for what's coming in the future. It's really working with this wintering process is a time of where we can let go. So we have come to the end of Magic in Mind for today. So a reminder to you, we will be having a session next week where we're going to be looking at the birth rune. So it won't be the same format as these sessions. So if you know your sun rune, bring your sun rune, because that'd be a really nice one for us to work with. We then won't have the further 2 sessions on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. We won't be having Magic in Mind then, but you will be hearing from me lots in the next month. So look out for Yuletide treasures, and I can't wait to share them with you, and I look forward to seeing many of you next week. Enjoy your wintering, and remember Rind and the lessons that she has shared with us today. Lots of love to everybody, and see you very soon.